Red Film Radio. I'm Matt Micucci from the 73rd Venice Film Festival. This year we are the official online radio station of the festival, and we're very pleased to be joined by director Ronny Trocker. Is that correct, the pronunciation? And you are the director of the Eremites, or the original title is?
Die Einsiedler.
Okay.
It's German.
Yes, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
So first question is kind of just to tell our listeners a little bit about the story of the film.
Well, basically it's a story between an old authoritarian mother and not so young anymore introverted son, and it's settled in a really remote mountain farm in the northern Italian Alps, where there is a small German-speaking minority. So it's at the border between Italy, Switzerland, and Austria. And well, it's a generational conflict, and also it's a kind of really archaic world the people is living in, and it's gonna disappear. And it was interesting for me to show it because it's in the center of Europe. It's in Italy, and nobody knows it really. So.
Would it be right to say that this generational kind of, I would say even transition is a key element in the film?
Yeah, of course. It's the transition between this old archaic world and the modern world, but it's also I guess where it becomes more universal. It's one of the main characters who goes to the valley to live in a modern society has to find a little bit his own way, his place in the world, his place in society. So and he has to choose between the opportunities he has in ballet, and that makes him feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, and exactly. And also, the very important in the film is that it's kind of place, the place in which it is set. Can you tell us a little bit about how important exactly this element in the film is?
Yeah, it's a place where I grew up actually. Not exactly in this village, but I mean in this region. So I know it from my childhood, and yeah, it's a really touristic place. So the visual representation, it's really kitsch always. No, it's a kind of collateral damage to masterism. No, it's kind of, you have to show it really nice, But for people who works on the mountains, the farmers or the miners working in the mountain is an obstacle. So that's what I wanted to show, to reverse a little bit this image, this false image, and to show a more authentic way, give a more authentic image of the region. So.
Yeah, because if we can tell our listeners a little bit about, just to help them visualize the film, the cinematography actually is quite beautiful, and the way the camera moves as well is very. I would almost say its movements are very meticulous sometimes and really flatter the atmosphere. But then the action it points at something almost entirely different.
Yeah, actually we worked a lot in the pre-production with the DOP and in prepare this. The images. So I think I like films personally, which can tell the story basically about images and not especially about dialogue. So the film has not many dialogues. So I wanted to show this inner conflict of the characters through images, not especially to tell it by words, and
to engage the audience in a meditative way.
Yes, maybe, but we tried not to show like landscape images, because there is always this relation between the characters and the mountain. So it helps us to show how small people is in this huge nature or force of nature.
That's right. So it works with the film, but it is not there just for the eyes and for it to be a nice eye treat. Yeah, that's important.
We try to not to make something like to base it just on an observation. If not, there is always it's always a kind of maybe It's the inner life of the characters confronted with the mountains,
With the action, yeah, and everything. Just one final question, because unfortunately that's where things are kind of moving rapidly along here. But it's a very interesting film, and one of the things that I wanted to ask you is this: this is your first feature film, is that correct?
This is my first feature film, yes, actually.
What was the difference between short film work and feature film? Did you notice any major difficulties?
Yeah, the time. The time.
Yeah.
I worked on this 4 or 5 years now, because it's obviously really difficult to finance it, and it wasn't the most attractive pitch.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it's a mountain farm, an old mother, and an introverted son. It was like, huh? What do you want to do? So it took us some time to convince people to help us to make this film. And the difference is, for me personally, my last short films are less narrative and much more experimental. So you can
find yourself leaning towards the experimental side sometimes?
Yes, of course.
Oh, yeah,
So
sure.
that's I was experiment. I see. I can play more with the form in short film, and here I can maybe play more with a narrative structure. So there's different ways to experiment. So I think there are. I hope I can go on making short films. So for me, short film is not a training ground.
Yeah.
So I hope. I think there are stories or ideas they can be made in shorts, and ideas or stories they can made in feature films. So.
Basically, you don't see the short film as something that is just a short film and a feature length a completely different thing. They're both. You can work with both of them in the same way.
Absolutely. As I said, I think it depends on the subject and the idea and yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you very much for joining us. It was a great pleasure talking to you. And let's remind everyone that your film is called The Eremites. Original title once again.
Die Einsiedler.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And this is Fred Film Radio, the Festival Insider.